Welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. Here we are. It is April 7th, 2016. We have got just over 5 minutes to go to the closed, and volatility is so very back. S&Ps right now are trading down 28 handles. NASDAQ futures down just about 69 handles over there. If you look down, the Russell down about 1.4%, and everything we've really set up for in the days and weeks prior to this has really led up to, again, a snapback of volatility. So if you tune in and kind of turn on to some of these nightly videos here at TheoTrade, we keep saying like something has got to give. Those relationships that ultimately play out in the markets. That is, when you see the S&Ps down, the bonds exploded today into the 167 territory. So we've been looking for movement inside of the bonds. Again, this is intraday trade. Bonds went bid up. And just to give you a little bit of a broader perspective on the bond market, we finally broke out in the bonds. Again, bonds have been upticking over here with the market ultimately rallying. Here we're actually seeing bonds breaking out to the upside. Again, coming right into some of the recent highs. We actually did touch, exploded, I should say, up to the 170 level. But that was in the midst of real fear, real risk. Here, what do we see? We see the bonds exploding to the upside, but the S&Ps, they're only down 27. However, time out. Okay? The markets, they don't hand you all that much on a silver platter, but there's some areas today that are extremely kind of disconcerting. And I'm going to take you into this again with just about 3 minutes to go to the close. What's important here is know what your risk happens to be. Now, yes, and I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I am short markets, okay, and have been short markets. I like to expose the positions because you got to realize, you're not always going to be right. Markets are less about direction and much more about the right strategy and the right logic. Now, I've been short, since around 1975. And yet I have built a short position up to about negative 5,000 deltas. Now, for those of you that don't speak Greeks out there in deltas, it means I'm short the equivalent of about 5,000 shares of the spiders. Okay, and here's my portfolio beta weighted delta. I am precisely at this point, I'm going to freeze the market, even though there's 2 minutes left over here. That is A-okay. I've actually filled, what have I got, 23 fills on the day. I'm short the equivalency of 5,000 deltas in here. Okay, P&L right where we should be. All right, the fact that the spiders are down over $2, dollars and change over here, P&L is exactly where it should be with this kind of sell side activity. Now, the point that I'm trying to make with this is you can't position yourself in one day for this kind of action, and you have to take a little bit of pain to have the positions on, okay, because you would never know that we were going to see sell side activity. Nobody's going to be able to predict this. This morning, the S&Ps were down like 10 points. We even rallied back up, threatened to rally back up, and then just kind of faded off into the sunset on the day. Position yourself correctly, okay, and let the market ultimately come to you. So you have to absorb a certain amount of risk and have expectations of a certain amount of risk. Now, let me bring you to another side of the marketplace, an area that you might not be looking at. All sectors are down today. Utilities, they're relatively flat. So you had, again, all those correlations that we look for in the market snap right back into alignment today, right? S&Ps are down. The volatility futures got bid up. Bonds are up, okay? The financials are the weakest sector on the day. They're down about 2%. Which makes perfect sense given the fact the bonds are so bid. However, there's an area, as I said, very, very disconcerting. Now, you can look at this as a positive. Okay, I take this as nothing more than a negative. Really, the technology titans of our time, what are they? They're Facebook, they're Apple, they're Google, okay, they're Amazon. most of them had an extremely, what we'll term, inside trading range today. Now, again, some of you that are listening to this, you're listening to it because you can't necessarily watch the market throughout the course of the trading session. But if you do take a look at Facebook, and I'm going to zoom in, yeah, we realize earnings are around the corner. Listen, the markets are going to sell off. Earnings ain't going to save you. S&P's, bouncing here just a little bit towards the close. The earnings are not going to save you. The fact of the matter is, Facebook over here has a very, very tight trading range on the day. Apple, all right, down about 2%. Okay. Google, again, rather an inside day, only down about 1% over here. Now, a lot of people might look at this. There's the rest of my orders got canceled. Okay. A lot of people might look at this. Well, it's a bright pocket in the market. This is not a bright pocket. This is a sector, okay, that has seen some of the largest gains recently. I look at this as opportunistic. I look at this, all right, if you're taking a look at the NASDAQ as a whole, the NASDAQ as a whole has exploded to the upside. The S&Ps, okay, exploded to the upside, but the NASDAQ in today's trading could have been substantially worse had Google specifically participated to the downside. Okay, the issue we've got right now is going out and trying to place a trade in Google. It's not just about being short-sighted over here. It's dangerous because 15 days out, okay, we have the Google earnings announcement. Now, what you can do is you can come in here for a really shallow amount of time and put on a position specific to Google. Okay? I would look for Google to crack down prior to its earnings. That would only give us 8 days, though, for this move to occur. If you want to take kind of a stab at it, you think, you know what? All right, like I get what he's saying over here. Again, here's an underlying only, fell by 1% in a day where the market, was getting slaughtered over here, and you would expect an underlying like Google, which, again, has been at the forefront of many of the moves. We got nothing out of it. This happens to be a $5 wide spread for about a $2.25 debit. This is an all or none trade. If Google doesn't break down in the next 8 days, your $2.25 is completely and totally vaporized over here. It's just, again, it's an area of the market. Keep it in mind. Now, to back out a little bit, I don't want to get too specific to one individual trade. And the reason I don't want to get too specific, again, the market as a whole, okay, has possibly taken us right back into volatility. So as I said, we kind of snap back into a much more volatile stance today, and you got to be on guard. One of the things that you want to do tonight, now, watching this video, reconcile your positions. Be totally comfortable with the risk that you've got on right now, because what the future holds in the next couple of days, again, don't look to earnings announcements to be the saving grace out there, okay? Because it looks like we may not make it to the earnings announcements, and that volatility may have kind of gripped hold. The financials are a pretty good indication, being down 42 cents or, okay, just under a 2% move inside the financials. Their volatility, though, expanded out today. We're back up to 22% implied volatility, okay, throughout most of the series inside of the XLF. This is going to be the product, obviously, to watch day in and day out. However, at the same time, look towards big technology, Google, okay, Facebook. If we're going to break to the downside, those stocks are going to participate, and they're actually going to lead, all right, percentage-wise to the downside. And those, again, are the underlyings that I'm going to be watching here in just the next couple of days. So where do you go from here? Well, if you guys are brand new, okay, not really familiar with TheoTrade, we offer what's called Total Theo, okay? What does that include? Well, every class that we do classes once a month. Every coaching session that we do daily coaching sessions, Wednesday evening coaching sessions. This entire week, we've been doing an Options 101. So if you're brand new, okay, just brand new, never traded an option before, you want to learn a little bit about like implied volatility, we happen to also do an implied volatility coaching session this past week Wednesday night coaching session. Again, Options 101. We will take you from the absolute basics to the extreme in this business. If you are a member of Total Theo and you're listening to this, fantastic. Tune in, turn on daily. Yes, we're in the chat room. Yes, we trade during the course of the day. Okay, but one of the biggest values of TheoTrade, check out those archives over there. Tune into the classes. Whatever trading style you may have, we've got something to suit you. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining me here today at TheoTrade.